the $212 billion food ingredient poisoning your brain. You eat something that tastes good, feels safe, and is socially acceptable every day, but hidden behind that familiarity lies one of the most lucrative and neurologically disrupting compounds ever added to food. There are no caution labels on it. Seldom do doctors bring it up. And the majority of people never question. However, this one substance makes over $212 billion a year and subtly affects how your brain focuses, thinks, feels, and craves. It has nothing to do with fear. It has to do with consciousness. You won't view food the same way after watching this film. Number 10, dependent. The brain eventually starts to depend on this component rather than just craving it. Frequent exposure disrupts the brain's ability to process stress, making everyday difficulties seem overwhelming in the absence of chemical stimulus. Little annoyances weigh more heavily. Deeper fatigue is felt. Motivation seems far away. The brain waits for the next dose to feel functioning again rather than replenishing its energy. This is how dependence develops covertly through subtle emotional reliance rather than overt symptoms. The brain misinterprets artificial stimulation for balance and loses its natural ability to control itself. The most perilous aspect is that independence becomes uncomfortable once reliance becomes the norm. Number 9, addicted. This chemical is particularly hazardous since it alters behavior in addition to affecting hunger. Frequent exposure teaches the brain to look to food for solace, relief, and reward instead of actual experiences. The same reaction craving is triggered by stress, boredom, despair, and even celebration. Emotional control becomes reliant on consumption as a result of this feedback loop. Over time, the brain associates relief with consuming more of the same item rather than resting or solving problems. This explains why cravings develop even when the body isn't hungry and feel unreasonable and urgent. After learning that this chemical shortcut is the quickest route to pleasure, the brain finds it challenging to disregard it. Number 8, normalized. The extent to which this component has permeated culture may be the most troubling aspect. It is a component of festivities, prizes, recollections from childhood, and social customs. Because society has portrayed it as harmless delight rather than a pharmacological impact, questioning it feels excessive, even uncomfortable. Something becomes impenetrable when it is emotionally shielded. Because of this normalization, any complaint is guaranteed to sound inflated while the harm goes unnoticed. People eventually cease questioning the health benefits of continuous exposure and instead defend it as custom. In this way, an ingredient transcends food and becomes a belief that is passed down without ever being questioned. Number 7, everywhere. The best thing about this substance is not how it tastes, but rather how invisible it is. Bread that appears harmless, sauces that taste soothing, snacks marketed as convenient, and foods branded natural or healthy are all locations where people least expect danger. It can be found under dozens of various names and is easily incorporated into regular diets. Snacks in between breakfast, lunch, and dinner gradually normalize continuous exposure. The brain detects occasional eating. The brain recognizes it as necessary when it is consumed frequently. In this way, an ingredient becomes ingrained in daily life and ceases to be a choice. Number 6, hijacked. In a world where sweetness was scarce and valuable, a sign of vitality and survival, the human brain evolved. This component takes advantage of that outdated wiring. It produces dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, at much higher amounts each time it is eaten than complete meals ever could. This is initially enjoyable, even reassuring. However, the brain can adapt. It lowers dopamine sensitivity as a defense mechanism, requiring more stimulus to achieve the same level of satisfaction. Over time, cravings get stronger, motivation declines, and everyday pleasures become less meaningful. What was once pleasurable now seems essential. This is a biological reaction to recurrent chemical overstimulation, not an accidental addiction. Number 5. Fogged. The modern world frequently attributes mental tiredness to stress or sleep deprivation. Yet nutrition has a more significant impact than most people are aware of. This substance causes quick rises followed by abrupt crashes, upsetting the brain's energy balance. Inflammation prevents brain cells from communicating with one another, and neurons struggle to sustain steady fuel. The end effect is a chronic mental fog that includes trouble focusing, forgetfulness, unstable emotions, and diminished problem-solving skills. People eventually grow so accustomed to this fog that they forget what pure mental clarity feels like and assume that this weariness is just a normal part of growing up. Number 4. Imprinted. Children's brains are constantly developing, making them more than just miniature versions of adults. Neural pathways are shaped during crucial developmental stages when this chemical enters their diet at an early age through sweetened drinks, cereals, sweets, and packaged snacks. Pleasure is now linked to intensity rather than sustenance. It gets uncomfortable to wait. It gets hard to concentrate. 3. Designed. Portion sizes are increased and flavor profiles are optimized. Because it boosts consumption, the substance appears where it isn't necessary, changing brain chemistry over time until imbalance feels natural and balance feels constrictive. Number 2. Profit. The food business is dominated by this ingredient for the straightforward reason that it is effective. It is inexpensive to make, simple to keep, and very successful at boosting repeat business. Its capacity to maintain customer cravings is the foundation of entire business structures. Health takes a back seat when profit is determined more by volume of consumption than by sustenance. Dependency, emotional instability, and cognitive exhaustion are not coincidences. Rather, they are expected results of a profit-driven society. The most valued customer is a brain that never stops wanting more. Number 1. Withdrawal. When people attempt to remove this ingredient, the brain protests. Headaches, irritability, fatigue, low mood, and intense cravings appear, often convincing individuals that something essential is missing. In reality, the brain is recalibrating after years of artificial stimulation. This discomfort is temporary, but powerful enough to pull many back. Those who persist experience something unexpected: stable energy, clearer thinking, calmer emotions, and reduced cravings. Food begins to taste richer. Pleasure becomes balanced again. The brain proves it was never broken, just overwhelmed. If this video made you pause and think, subscribe. Because awareness is the first step toward control, and the next influence may already be sitting on your plate.